There are many aspects of our faith that challenge us to believe in something that we do not fully understand. It's a great mystery. And today's feast, the Feast of the Holy Trinity, is one of those mysteries. It's really hard to grasp our head around three persons in one God. And even naming God is a challenge. A 4th century bishop, St. Gregory of Nazianzen, said that to speak of God is like crossing an ocean on a raft. How do we comprehend that? And what image helps to understand the Trinity, three persons in one God? What does that mean? We have heard others in the past of an old man, Jesus, and a bird, Father, Son, and Spirit. That's not being disrespectful. That's just how some images that we name. There are other images too. Currently, my two favorite images are one was shared with me of a friend of mine who taught religious education to young children. And she said, God is like Neapolitan ice cream. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, look, the Trinity. Have you ever had Neapolitan ice cream? Go to the grocery store. Look in the frozen aisle. Look at it. Neapolitan ice cream is one ice cream box with three flavors, chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. Made sense to me. And every time I walk in a grocery store, I think of her and that image of God as 3 in 1. Neapolitan ice cream. What resonates most with me is the image of God and Trinity as three persons around a table. And this icon that I had was written for me by a Greek Orthodox artist that I picked up in Greece who wrote this icon for me. Is based on Andrei Rublev's Russian icon of the 15th century, the hospitality of Abraham and God as coming at table to sit at table center. God is a community of persons, three persons in one God. In today's gospel that we celebrate this feast, it's the Gospel of John 3, chapter 16, that we often hear. Jesus is saying to Nicodemus, God so loved the world that God sent God's only Son, and that whoever believes may have life. And that belief is that God is a God of love. In relation, this mystery of three persons, God as love, lover, and beloved. Father, Son, and Spirit is the traditional one. The Creator, the Redeemer, the Sanctifier. Love. Love that Jesus taught us, that says that is the greatest commandment of love. Gregory of Nazianzen, that 4th century bishop, also said that the Trinity is in one God. There are three pulsations that move the world, and those pulsations are love. And Jesus said, what is the greatest commandment? To love God with all your heart and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. How do we sit in relation to one another of loving God and neighbor and ourselves? And how is God calling us to do that today in our world and in our relationships with one another? This week, especially at this time, the Feast of the Holy Trinity is about a relationship of love, unconditional love, and how we model that for one another, how we relate to one another. That we respect and embrace our differences with love. That we stand with our sisters and brothers who are being maltreated and harmed with love. That our work of justice and peace and action is done with love. That our relationship of community in one another is done with love and empathy and understanding, a love for one another that is unconditional, deep-rooted compassion, respect, and full of kindness and generosity. The Holy Trinity reminds us that there is an equal relationship of love with God. This week, Let us model how we relate to one another and how we live that call to love with one another, to be at table with one another, feasting among the grace and the gift of love, because God so loved the world, and God gifts that with love. And how are we loved with our neighbor and ourselves and with God in community this day and this week? Amen.